Pac-12 took the lead. Which conference will be next to make a move? Welcome to the Voice of College Football. We break down the game we all love each and every day with you. Best discussion, debate, and analysis of college football thanks to you and your participation. Hit me up on a live show. We do call-in shows all the time. You got to hit the bell for the notifications to know when we go live. Let's look at the Big Ten. So the Pac-12 decided to disband divisions and go to a 1 versus 2 seeding for its conference championship game beginning right now, 2022. The ACC has announced that it's going to a 3-5-5 format, 3 rivals, designated rivals for each team to play each season, and then a 5-team group to play within the conference, and then the other 5 teams on the alternating years. What will the Big Ten do? Well, I'm going to let you know what the Big Ten should do. Just like every other conference. Should be the same goal and model to basically protect rivalries and then build an equitable schedule. Everybody should be playing a balanced, fair schedule based on the previous season's results. So for the Big Ten, let's look at the rivalries. Illinois Northwestern, protect the rivalry. Let's see, for Indiana, the Old Oaken Bucket, it's the only rivalry in the conference that's protected outside the divisions. Indiana and Purdue are in opposite divisions, and the Old Oaken Bucket is played every year. It's the only one. Let's not penalize the likes of Rutgers and Maryland for just joining the conference 8 years ago. They need rivals. They need to foster rivalries. Okay, so they may not have any true rivals in the Big Ten right now, but we've got to help that along. We can't just let them dangle out there forever. So for Maryland, who is that? Is it Rutgers? Rutgers, Maryland? That would make sense. Maybe for Maryland, Penn State, going back to the old Big East type days. Not that they were in the Big East Conference, but Eastern football as independents back in the day. For Michigan, it's Ohio State and Michigan State, of course. But also, do we bring back Michigan, Minnesota? That was one of the Big Ten's biggest rivals. Probably one of the top 5 rivalries in the conference. But when they went to East and West, they disbanded Michigan and Minnesota. Do we bring it back? For Michigan State, it's got to be Michigan. Is it anybody else? Maybe Penn State. Let's talk about that rivalry of sorts. Is it one? So when Penn State joined the Big Ten in 1993, they needed a rival. The Big Ten pinned Penn State with Michigan State on the final weekend of the season. For some strange reason, about 5 years ago, they did not put those two together, try to mix up Rutgers and Maryland into the rotation for each one of them. But now they're back to Penn State, Michigan State. They play for the Governor's Trophy. So Michigan State, Penn State, that rivalry probably should continue. Penn State needs somebody. Michigan State, Maryland. Again, we're going to put together a panel of Big Ten experts. Myself, others, we talk to the schools, the administrators, the athletic directors, get their input, and we protect the rivalries that matter. And again, potential rivalries that could mean something to the conference later. For Minnesota, it's Wisconsin and Iowa. Again, is it Michigan? For Nebraska, got to play Iowa. Nebraska doesn't have a rival, really, and Iowa's just starting to become one. And the Big Ten is pushing that. We'll continue the push. Nebraska, Iowa. For Ohio State, it's Michigan, of course. Probably nobody else. Is the Illibut Trophy matter? Well, it didn't matter enough for the Big Ten to protect it years ago when they split into the East and West. So for Ohio State, it's probably just Michigan. Purdue, Indiana, of course. Again, Iowa, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, Northwestern, Illinois, and so on. There you see the list of protected rivalries. And again, this is up for discussion. The next thing we want to do is build a balanced, equitable schedule. Go to any Big Ten schedule this year, last year, the year before. Take any team, look at one side of the conference, take all the teams and who they play in the other side. They play 3 outside division games, okay? You will see the inequity in the scheduling. Some teams have to play very difficult schedules. For example, last year, Nebraska played Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State. Nobody else in the division played anything close to that. That should not happen. You can build an equitable 500 schedule for everyone. my committee of experts, again, we will not just look at, okay, we're going to build a 500 schedule, but look at trends. Who overplayed last year? Who underachieved? We'd massage it a bit, but still we'd build a 500 schedule. Michigan's an example. Here we go. This is an example of a schedule. This doesn't necessarily have to be their schedule. Ohio State and Michigan State, those are protected. Those are rivals each year. Throw in Northwestern, Rutgers, the rest of these games. You see Penn State, Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois. Guess what? It adds up to a 500 schedule, or as close as you can come, with 9 times 9 being 81, 40 and 41. You can build a 500 composite schedule for everyone. It's fair. And protect the rivalries. Okay, now let's get to a 1 versus 2 seeding for the Big Ten championship game. What would this have looked like in the past? We know that we had the legends and leaders to start out. That was a debacle. No one understood it. The geography made no sense, but that was the first 3 Big Ten championship games. The first Big Ten championship game was stellar, classic. Michigan State, Wisconsin played a great game. 2012 and 13. Then we split into East and West, and we know what the issue has been there. The West, actually, top to bottom, has been as good as the East. Surprise, surprise. Yes, it is. But the problem is the best team goes to the championship game, and the best team has always been in the East. Therefore, the East is 8-0 against the West. But now we go 1 versus 2. How many times would that have played out exactly the same, and how many times would we have seen a different conference championship game result? Let's look at it. In 2017, Ohio State, Wisconsin. 2015, Michigan State, Iowa. And in 2013, Ohio State, Michigan State. Those 3 conference championship games would have been exactly the same. Those are the only 3 out of 11. The other 8 different. Last year, not Michigan, Iowa, but Michigan, Ohio State in a rematch. In 2020, we would have had not Ohio State, Northwestern. We would have had Ohio State, Indiana in a rematch. In 2019, it was Ohio State, Wisconsin. Well, we would have had a 3-way tie between Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Penn State. So depending on your tie-breaking system, one of those 3 teams would have played Ohio State. You also see a rankings improvement. Check this out year to year when we go to the 1 versus 2 matchup. Ohio State, Northwestern in 2018 would have become Ohio State. After they whipped Michigan 62-39, they would have played the Wolverines again because Michigan and Northwestern tied at 8-1, but Michigan won the head-to-head. In 2016, the Penn State-Wisconsin game would have been Penn State, Ohio State in a rematch. They both went 7-1. 2014 would have either been Ohio State-Wisconsin like we had, or maybe Michigan State because they both went and had the same record at 7-1. 2012 is interesting because arguably the 2 best teams in the conference, Ohio State the best, and Penn State at 6-2, were under probation. So you had a conference championship game of Nebraska, Wisconsin, and Wisconsin was only 4-4. So if nobody's on probation, then you've got Ohio State 8-0, Nebraska 7-1. If you adhere to the probation, then we would have had a Nebraska-Michigan Big Ten championship game, and then in 2011, Michigan State's in the game for sure at 7-1. But we've got a 3-way tie between Michigan, Wisconsin, and Penn State at 6-2. Interesting to look back and see what would have resulted in a 1 versus 2 matchup instead of East and West legends and leaders for the Big Ten championship game. Your thoughts below on the Big Ten. What format works for you? Leave your comments, and of course, give us a call in our next call-in show. You got to subscribe and hit the bell for the notifications to know when we go live right here at the Voice of College Football.